Hey, how's it going, guys? All right, so far we've created our client registration form and also set up the validations of our form. So now if you check within the application itself, if we were to try and submit this particular form without satisfying the requirements, we're gonna get all the various errors that we've set up here within our controller. So now we're gonna proceed towards, in this video, we're gonna proceed towards storing the client's information within the database. All right, so now the first thing I want to do is deal with getting the SLA document functionality set up. So now the first thing I'll do is I'm going to get the company name. And for that, what I'll do is company. So we're going to get it through the input field the input field for the company name. All right. So now here we're going to check for whether or not the form that we are submitted, does it contain a file? And obviously the field name is SLA doc. Okay, so now within here, what I will first want to do is get the file name. So I'm going to say get, all right, so that will be the variable name. And then what we do is, uh, again, what we need to do is paste that SLA document name. And then we say get client original name. I think I'm spelling that right. Right, and then from there we're gonna get the just the file name itself. And then there's a PHP function called path info, and then within here we say file name with extension. And then the second parameter is gonna be path, I think it's path info underscore file name. And then the next one is going to be, we're just gonna get the extension of the file. Obviously the file will be either .pdf or .xml or something like that. So what we're gonna say here is get, right, so we'll say this is a doc. And here we want to append the get client um, get client original extension. All right, so this is just gonna get something like dot PDF and obviously doc for Word documents, etc., or .png for images. All right. So here, this is where we set up the name of the file that we want to be stored within the database. So for that, what we'll do is we'll create another variable and say file name, file to store. And then what we'll do is we will take various elements of this and append to or and concatenate them here. So the first one we need to get is the file name, and then what we'll do is we will append um, what you call it an underscore to it. So what we'll do is about that there will be an underscore. And then what I wanted to do is if you want it to be unique, you can add the time function over here, of which when we store the file, it won't be the exact same name file all the we won't be storing the exact same file all the time. So and then from there on, we're going to concatenate again an underscore, and then this time we will add the extension. All right, so this is the file will be stored using the file name, and then in between there will be a timestamp and then the file extension itself. Okay, so the next thing we need is the profile name. We want to say profile name, which will equal to that company name that we set up here. So what I'm basically going to use for is that um, actually I'll explain once I'm done. Let me just set up all that we need, and then I'll explain afterwards. So okay, so now I'm going to name this file path store. All right, and then sorry about that, this will equal to what we're going to do is take the profile name, and then from there on we're going to say dots, and then I want this file to be in the contracts folder. So what I'll do is concatenate another file path and say contracts, and then what I'll say is current. uh, all right, and then the other thing is um, what I'll do is here I'm going to say store file. So about that. Then again, we're going to say SLA doc. Then I'm going to append a function here saying store as. Then what I'll do is in here I'm gonna set the file name to the file path to store. I'll say file, and then the file name to store. Sorry about that. Sorry, it's file to store, not file name. All right, so let me explain again what is happening here. So the first part, we were obviously setting up all the file information that we need, and then down from the file name with the extension, the file name itself, extension, etc. So this here, what we're storing in this variable here, file to store, is the name of the file, and then we just concatenating a timestamp to make it unique, and with the extension. And so it will be something like what you call it, document name, and then underscore some timestamp, and then what it's gonna do is gonna add a PDF to the end. In fact, I'm actually wrong when I'm actually appending this underscore over here. I think that's all I need. All right, so and then it'll append that based on that. So that's what we're going to be storing within the database. Then this is how it's going to store the file. The name of the file is going to be like this within the database, and also what it's going to do is it's going to create a folder within here, within the app, within the storage app folder. And so what it's going to do is it's going to create a contracts folder. Well, it's going to create a folder based on the company name, and then underneath that it'll create a contracts folder, then a current folder, and then store this particular file name under that particular directory. So this is where we are doing it down here. So by default, when you use the store as function, it'll store the folders, it'll create the folders here within the app, what you call it, within the app directory over there. So that's what's going to happen. So it takes the path that we've set up here over here, and then the file that we want to save within this directory here. Okay, so hopefully I've made sense over there. All right, so now what we need to do underneath here, we need to set up a few more variables that we're going to need to store within our tables. Right, so what I'm going to do here is define the user type. So I'm going to create a constant here, and then I'm going to name this user underscore type, and then that will be client. So remember, we have two types of users here, the admins and the client. And so this one will be the client. Okay, and then the next one that we need to create is a unique code. Well, actually, we don't need the unique code for now. Yeah, I don't think we need the unique code for now. So now we should proceed towards what you call it, creating the user account for client. The next one will be store client, client company details, and then store company address, right? And then the next one should be store contract details. think that's about it. So now before we do this, we need to import all of the models that we're going to need to do so. So the first one is going to be the user model. So up here, under the request, I'll say use app user. All right, and then the next one is going to be use app. Remember, we have them in the models, in the what you call it, the models directory over there. So it's going to be models, and then the first one is going to be company detail. So now I'm going to copy this and paste it a couple of times. All right, so the other one we're going to need is address. What am I doing? It's company detail. Yeah, it's company address, and then the next one is going to be it's going to be the contract. Okay, and then you're also going to need, so it's company address, details, contracts, create request, resource. I don't think we need the services one, so I'm just going to delete those. All right, so down here, first one we're going to get is the user account. So we're going to say user account, and then we're going to equal that to user, and then we're going to say create, and then from there on, let me just open up the database fields, by the way. So I'll say use IT underscore v1. All right, so let's say show columns from user. Sorry, users. All right, so we need the first name, last name, email, and user type. So we'll say first name, and then I'm gonna get also the last name, uh, email. What else? We need the password. All right, that's the password, and then we need the token field, and then what do we need? We don't need to. These by default will stay as is, and verified will also stay as is. Yeah, so basically this is all we need for now. Okay, so first thing I want to do is copy this, and we need to change something here within the user model. So here within fillable, this is what we need to add. All right, so I'm just verifying. So it's first name, last name, email, user type. Sorry, I forgot the user type. So I'll say user type. Okay, and then we also need to add that here. Okay, so now that we have the user account method set up or creation set up, we can then now take what we need from our fields. So we're gonna say the first name is gonna equal to um, request, and then we're gonna say first name. All right. So remember, this request input field is coming from our form, so it's basically that it needs to be exactly the same as that. Right. So and then I'm gonna copy this and just paste it a couple of times. It's gonna be that there. It's gonna be that there, and also that there. What I need to do is that will be last name, uh, that will be email, and then that will be the password. Well, actually, for the password, because we need to hash it, we need to add another what you call it, method here at the top. So use, I think it's illuminate, and then I think it's support, then it's facades, if I'm not mistaken, and then hash. I hope I spelled it correctly because I usually make a mistake here with the facades. Right, but yeah, we have that now. So here within the, for the password field, we're gonna say um, hash make, and then we put the password field within there. So this will hash the password. And then the user type, we obviously have that defined up here as a constant. So we'll say user type. All right, so for the token, same thing we did with the hash make. We need to get, as far as I know, I think the token string doesn't sit within the facades category namespace. So I think it's that, and then we're gonna say str. Sorry, str. I hope I got it right. And then here we're gonna say str, and then we're gonna say random. And then what we do within here, we're gonna put the length of the, it's gonna generate a random string, random character string, and then within the parentheses there, we need to put the length of how much we want. So I'm just gonna put 40 within there. All right, so this will create and store details of the user. Okay, so now the last thing we need is the company details. So in here, I'll say company detail. Um, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna say create. All right, let me just put that in a variable as well. Okay, so what are the fields we need? If I'm just gonna get them quickly. All right, so it's client ID, company ID, enterprise. Okay, so how are we gonna get the client ID? We're gonna get it from this um, this variable here. So it'll create the user and store the information that we are creating here or storing within here within this variable. So we can get the client ID by saying client user account, and then um, we'll put an arrow function, an arrow there, and say ID. So the user that we just created here, that it'll store the ID within this variable that we set up over up here. The next thing we need is, I think it's company name, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, company name and then enterprise type. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna do that quickly. Enterprise. Let me just copy that name. The next one is gonna be industry. All right, so we got the industry. We need the work tel, and then we need the alternative contact, and then the alternative email. All right, and so I'm gonna copy this, and then again within the model itself, I have to put this as a fillable. So let me just copy this one from the user type. I mean the user's model, and we're gonna paste it there. And then so because these are the fields that are we gonna be filling in, we need to copy that and then paste it within there. And I'm just gonna remove that. So let me just explain. This is just telling the Laravel that these are the fields that we are going to be using to store information within this particular table. So any other fields that are not listed here, it will not store anything. So even if there was an extra field within the for example this particular table here, let's say there was an alternative fax number or something like that, and if I didn't list it here, even if I were to put the field here within the registration form, it's not going to add that data within there. So it's kind of like binding as to which information is going to be stored within that table. So it's the same thing here with the user table. All right, so guys, basically this is what I'll be doing with the rest of the fields. What I'm gonna do is pause the video so that you don't have to watch me filling in these fields one by one. But exactly what I did here is exactly what I'm gonna do for all the fields that we're gonna need for the address and the contact and the contracts detail. Once I'm back from after pausing the video, I will explain all the fields before we store the information. All right, one moment for me, please.